Becky, are you ready? Tammy? Good morning. I will call the Monday, May 12th, 2025 meeting of the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners to order at 9 a.m. Couple of reminders, the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners reserves the right to enter closed session at any time as necessary to discuss the agenda item currently before the board. The Lincoln County Board of Commissioners also reserves the right to take agenda items out of order for the convenience of parties involved. We will be following the Open Meetings Act, which is posted at the entrance of this room with amendments. At 9:15, we will recess as the Board of Commissioners and convene as the Lincoln County Board of Equalization, also following the Open Meeting Act as amended. Our first order of business today is to open with prayer. Commissioner Bruns, if you would do the honors.
Absolutely. Join me if you would, please. Heavenly Father, Lord, we come to you with thanksgiving and humbleness in our heart. We thank you for all the blessings that you've bestowed upon us here in Lincoln County. Lord, we just ask that as we convene today, as we meet and discuss and deliberate and make decisions for the people that we serve, that you would give us guidance and temperance and just a touch of your wisdom, that those decisions would be pleasing in your eye and serve the greater good. Lord, we ask that you just be with the men and women who relentlessly and selflessly put themselves in harm's way every day to serve our community, our law enforcement members, our first responders, the many volunteers that help, those that help protect our way of life and keep our freedoms. Lord, we especially lift up our military personnel, both serving here nationally and those around the world that are sacrificing so much. We pray all these things humbly in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Our next agenda item, if you've all had an opportunity to look over the minutes, I would seek a motion to approve the minutes of last week's meeting.
Sure, I'd make a motion that we approve the minutes of the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners meeting held May 5, 2025.
Second.
We have a motion by Hughley and a second by Woodruff. I think you won last time. Is any discussion? Roll call, please.
Hughley.
Aye.
Woodruff.
Aye.
Weems.
Aye.
Bruns.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye. I didn't want to make Tammy have to take the heat again. Moving on to the revenue listing, claims and treasurer's receipts. If you've all had an opportunity to look them over.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion that we approve the claims and treasury receipts as presented, again with the caveat that if we do find a claim that doesn't appear to be in order, that claim may be pulled.
Second.
We have a motion by Hughley and a second by Weems. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Hughley. Weems.
Aye.
Bruns.
Aye.
Woodruff.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye. We will now receive and order file the fee report submitted by County Sheriff Kramer, County Clerk Rosell, and Register of Deeds Block.
Madam Chair, it would be my motion that we receive and order filed the fee report submitted by the county sheriff in the amount of $6,697.42, the county clerk in the amount of $853, and the Register of Deeds in the amount of $37,530.85.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Bruns,
Aye.
Woodruff,
Aye.
Hughley,
Aye.
Weems,
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye.
Morning.
Okay, so will you help me get out some chairs? You have- More should be fine. Thank you. Was graduation Saturday or Sunday?
Yesterday, Sunday, Mother's Day.
Because it was pretty windy, but that's pretty protected there, isn't it?
I mean, it was breezy.
Saturday was beautiful outside.
Saturday was gorgeous. But it didn't dampen the ceremony.
What is your daughter's next step?
She's going to UNL.
Cool.
With a focus on elementary education, or no?
Biological sciences.
Oh, she changed. That'll be a good field.
I think she'll go at school after that, we'll see. Still got a little bit of time to get it all figured out.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not that uncommon for them to change once they get there too.
I was like, you don't need to have that figured out yet.
Yeah.
Just go take some courses and expand your horizons.
Enjoy the experience.
Figure out which courses interest you.
Yeah, frequently they take a class that really sparks an interest and changes their, it's good not to be too locked in.
Yep.
It is 9:15. We will recess as the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners and convene as the Lincoln County Board of Equalization following the Open Meetings Act with amendments, which is posted at the entrance to this room. Our first order of business will be to approve the minutes of last week's meeting.
Chair, I would make this motion that we approve those minutes regarding the Lincoln County Board of Equalization meeting held on May 5 of 2025.
Second.
We have a motion by Woodruff and a second by Bruns. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Woodruff.
Aye.
Bruns.
Aye.
Hughley.
Aye.
Weems.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye. Next, certificates of correction and refund is submitted by the county assessor. County Assessor Julie Stinger indicates we have none. Thank you. Moving on, discuss and consider the offer to confess judgment in case number 24R-0350 before the Nebraska Tax Equalization and Review Commission.
Good morning, Julie Stinger, Lincoln County Assessor.
Ashley Gerchulo, appraiser.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, you're looking at me because I actually had this put on here. Every year, we have a number of TIRT cases. The vast majority of them settle out. This is the process. The assessor's office worked with the taxpayer. In this case, came to a valuation number that both parties agree is fair and is supported by the evidence. And so the process now is the board authorizes the confession of judgment. As you can see, the taxpayer's already signed it. And at that point, I'll get it filed with Turk, and then we'll close this particular case out. And if you're wondering where Exhibit A is, that's the document that Julie prepares that has to go with it. It's the basis for the valuation change.
Julie or Ashley, do you have anything to add?
I don't think so. Ashley worked, this was her area, so this was her area review, so she worked with Mr. Trasinski, and after some more evidence was provided and some more discussion, we were able to do just a little bit more depreciation on a huge room in the house that maybe needed some functional depreciation that we didn't originally have on there, so in doing so, that got us closer to the appraisal that was submitted at the time of the protest, so now Mr. Trasinski is okay with our value.
A motion?
I am ready.
Do my motion to accept and
Offer to
file,
confess.
offer the confession, and thank you, Tyler, offer the confession of judgment in the case number 24R-0350 that was before the Nebraska Tax Equalization Review Commission. The land, go ahead. The land would be $104,203. Buildings would be at $550,627. The total of $654,857. That's my motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Weems and a second by Commissioner Hughley. Any other questions or discussion?
I just want to note that the referee was fairly close with $4,000 spread. So I think we have a good person there to back up for coaching us. I also want to make note that I didn't sign this. For a change.
I think there was an appraisal when she met with the
I know,
appraised value,
just-
yeah.
Kind of just
We had
pick
some
on Joe.
questions on the appraisal, is why we didn't go with it
Joe did the
originally,
same
so-
for me if I were.
Yeah. So, okay.
Very
Thank you,
good.
guys.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
Weems,
Aye.
Hughley,
Aye.
Bruns,
Aye.
Woodruff,
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Jenna.
Yes. Adjourn. We will now adjourn as the Lincoln County Board of Equalization and reconvene as the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners at 9:20. Our next item is at 9:30.
Did you see that Guardian for 11,000? Did you see that claim for 11,000 for Guardian? They RFID at the jail.
Jerry, was it gonna work for you to meet
I didn't
after the
Just
meeting
have to
today?
ID card. That's an annual fee. Seems like a
Becky,
lot.
did you see that email
I understand.
that,
I took a picture of it and asked.
Paul Guy.
Paul is coming today and wanted to have a quick.
She was supposed to give it the time and she did.
Okay,
She'll be here after the meeting.
yeah. That didn't take long for those to come in.
No, not at all. Of course, when the last bunch took over a year,
Yeah,
everything's fast.
might go back to that way
I'm
pretty
guessing
soon
Bob
too.
Nozzles probably has some hose work or something with them, I don't know how they work on the spray trucks.
Yeah, you gotta change them out once in a while, they wear out.
Yeah.
Well, these are boom busters. These are the ones you don't have a boom out, they just shoot out and down, so they create an arc. So they do wear out
Do those work?
very well, especially in
Because I
pastures.
see some stuff, I've been.
Not for row
buying
crop.
one. No, just for weeds.
But for pastures, they're fantastic.
I'll be darned.
Yeah, you don't
Okay.
have your booms busted.
See, I always thought it was. Cause I gotta look at,
The guy from Custer County was running them when I was running the district, and I converted all the trucks to boom busters except one that we used for bear ground. And we stopped fixing booms, going in those rough pastures. They're still using them.
oh, mine are rough.
Yep. It's hard on a boom truck. That's why you can't get commercial people to run in and do it. Tears up their equipment.
How does it mark? Or you spray it or
It
you just
doesn't.
judge?
It doesn't. You're only running minimal rates. And so if you get an overlap, you're not over applying. You're typically 3 times less than max on labeling.
So even if you overlap, it won't damage anything?
It's actually a benefit, because you're putting Banville or Tordon in the system, and then that just leaves a longer residual to kill the seedlings. It's a bonus.
That's a new one.
Is this one we held back before?
Yeah, and this is a new one? Our annual agreement was also on the invoices today too.
Don't turn that up too high.
You know me better than that, right? I think I need to talk to our building guy.
Maybe he doesn't know so much here.
Well, it was set at 72, but the thermostat's at 77. So,
75 up
you
there,
know,
yeah. Much surprised.
that's about 10 degrees too hot for me.
Tyler, are you going to the county board workshop with us?
Couldn't even tell you what it is.
June, are you talking about that one? Yeah. First week in June?
I think so. Fourth and fifth.
Board of Equalization.
I probably asked you to expose to before.
Might be beneficial.
That's up to the board. I don't make those decisions.
I'm bringing you to that discussion.
Sounds like something y'all can chat about at the end of the meeting, doesn't it?
Contract.
Well, we're on total.
It's a perpetual contract.
It just automatically comes up every year this
Yeah, so
time.
Mostly.
it was,
There's some calculated
it was yearly, we did it yearly, and then we finally went to just a perpetual.
disobedience in there, but
And that's been the, we did that, the rate increase. but
Depends a
the
little
same
bit on
amount,
who's giving the
98.
a little bit, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
That's the prudent.
It is 9:30. Our agenda item is a presentation by 6 Regions, 1 Nebraska. I welcome Emily Worrell, who is the representative. Emily, if you'd like to come up and announce your name, sign in for the record.
Morning, Emily.
Morning.
Good morning. Good morning, good morning. How are you all? Okay, sign-in sheet, right. I think I'm also gonna leave my phone up here just so we can keep time and not get off your plant for this morning. So, anyway, my name's Emily Worrell. I live here in North Platte. I graduated from North Platte High School, moved away for about 10 years, and then have been back in North Platte for, almost 15 this September. So this is home to me. I just want to thank you all for the opportunity to come and talk and share about what I'm working on now, which is a collaboration with the Nebraska Chamber, the Department of Economic Development, and also the Governor's Office. So this initiative is called 6 Regions, 1 Nebraska. And the 6 regions is based on community college regions. So each region of a community college hired a regional navigator, which is my role for the Mid-Plains Community College region. So
It kind of came out of some conversations with Brian Sloan and with the Nebraska Chamber and DED, just talking about what can we do differently throughout our state to promote collaboration and move our communities forward as far as economic development and initiatives and such. And so it's actually been a year, I realize, that I've been in this role. I remember at last year's Giving Day, for North Platte Giving Day, and so, you know, I should have celebrated a little more since we just had Giving Day last week. For me, this is a really fun role. I get to go visit communities. It's a blast to meet interesting people who care about their communities. And I think how I landed here really was I led a community build playground project through Centennial Park. And when you do something like that, doors open. But for this job, it really checks the boxes for me of one, getting to work with interesting people, like I said, two, just seeing projects hopefully move forward, and three, like really that idea of how do we build communities that we love to live in. And so, yeah, it's an exciting opportunity for me. So if you don't know, the Mid-Plains Community College region spans all the way up to Valentine, South Dakota border down. I have McCook as well, so all the way to Kansas. Then I have Custer County, Broken Bow in that area, and then as well as the southwest corner of Nebraska, so Imperial, Binkelman, and then Keith County as well. So it's a large area, about 88,000 people, and so as you can imagine, even by your role as commissioners, we have North Platte, which is of course much bigger than most of the other communities in our region, and then a lot of small communities, which I realize, like in Lincoln County, how many quite small communities there are compared to North Platte. And so I think a big challenge has been, how do we serve all communities in our region when we really have different needs and whatnot? So any questions so far? Okay.
Just keep going.
Keep
You're
going.
doing great.
Okay. I'm a teacher at heart, so please feel free to, chime in. Okay, so we had some meetings last summer here in North Platte at Mid-Plains Community College where we invited leaders in and discussed, okay, what are our priority areas going to be? And as a region, we decided on housing, workforce, and also community building. So more houses. More houses hopefully will mean more people for our workforce. And the community piece, as you can imagine, is a little bit more vague. What does that look like? We've talked about leadership. We've talked about being welcoming communities. We've talked about downtown revitalization. So it is kind of our broader subject matter, but I'm finding a lot of this is coming under this housing umbrella. So as you can imagine, just trying to figure out needs for an entire region, that has been, it's a challenge, I guess I will say. So what we decided to do, I should say my co-chairs are Gary Pearson and Kyle Argenbright. They're serving in a volunteer capacity for this initiative. They have been amazing to work with. And then also Ryan Purdy with the college has been heavily involved. And so I'll share, right off the bat, we were, had the opportunity to go after about $200,000 of ARPA funding. And so we had to decide what we were going to do for that application. And we decided to do a housing study and Mid-Plains Community College was willing to be our applicant because they've been involved from the start. And so we are working with JEO Consulting on what we're calling a workforce housing revitalization plan. A lot of communities already have a housing plan, a comp plan in place, but a lot don't. And so we're hopefully bringing them some needed data for not only grant applications, but also to just make decisions that are based on data for their community, well-informed decisions. We're hoping to bring some dashboards into that so that maybe we can be interactive and a community can see progress along the way. We're hoping to bring communities more of a plan and a project management type items, because one of the things we hear is we don't know where to start. We've got lots of projects, lots of things that need to be done. So can we help them identify where they need to start and give them some actionable plans? And then we're looking at how do we recruit from this data? Like, what is the data going to show us? And I don't know yet. But we've talked a lot about skilled trades. How are we recruiting people then to come build these houses that we know is a need in our area? And so, you know, I was talking to my flooring guy who came and was doing some work, and he was saying he'd like to move to Denver. And I said, well, why not? And he said, well, I've realized that I can charge more here doing flooring, and the cost of living is less. And I believe, this was a couple years ago, but he said I could charge 3 times as much here than I could in North Platte. And I'm like, okay, that's good and bad. But, you know, if you're gonna recruit tradespeople to possibly move here, okay, then that's a message that we might be able to share with someone. So that's just a small slice of like getting some of that communication out. And then 2, we've talked about like promotion for our region. One of the things, so that's kind of the study, okay? We're also looking at, or we are implementing and launching what's called the cost of complacency cohort. This also falls under housing. This is a collaboration with Central Community College. We are going at that region, sorry. So in Gothenburg on June 24th, we're gonna bring 8 communities from my region, 8 from Dina Beck's region and Central together, 8 to 10, I guess. And then we're gonna meet with South Central Economic Development and talk about if we're not doing anything with vacant properties, dilapidated properties, how is that affecting our communities? And so I think a big part of that is just empowering these leaders in their community to be able to share how that impacts their school system, their tax base, things like that. So we kind of joke, we want to share like, yeah, you might have a house with a bunch of raccoons in it right now, but what if we put a family of 5 in there? You know, how is that going to affect your community for the good? And so that is what we're excited about. That will be a 14-month then program from that initial meeting. And then we are also also looking at leadership. I'm working with a group out of McCook, talking about how do we combat burnout. You have the same 10 people that are, you know, constantly kind of taking the brunt of the work on. How do we combat that? So that's been an interesting piece under the community building umbrella. But as far as my day-to-day work, I get to go visit with communities. Like I said, I'm promoting collaboration. I was excited the other day as I was talking to someone who works in economic development in one of our larger communities. She starts saying, well, my hometown is Hayes Center, and I love Hayes Center. And she said, and I'd really love to see some things happening there. And she said, well, I'd be willing to go talk with them, you know, about housing there. And I'm like, that's exactly the sort of impact we'd love to have. And she says, well, and so-and-so's wife is from Hayes Center, and so-and-so. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, how can we bring some, you know, resources to them that aren't too far away that could be helpful to a community of 200 people? Yeah, I'm trying to think. And 2, it just, like, I think it's been very cool to go to communities and step back and think, okay, what assets do you actually have? What are you proud of? What do you do well? And can we lean into that? And then there's lots of resources that, you know, say UNL Extension has that I hope I can connect them with and help move things forward. So what did I miss? How can I help clarify anything?
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Are you a quasi group? I don't know about your group. So I don't know about your group.
Yes.
And I'm assuming a lot of people watching don't.
Yes.
So I don't know who 6 Regions 1 Nebraska is. Are you a subsidiary of DED, the college system?
It's a collaborative.
Who's your funding
Yeah.
source?
Right.
All
Okay.
those things.
Good question. So I technically work for the Nebraska Chamber, and I work full-time for them.
Yeah, okay.
And then, but all of our positions came through ARPA funding. So the state decided to take some ARPA funding and do the regional navigator roles across the state in the community college region. And then kind of from our meetings, then that's who really the stakeholders have been. But I mean, I keep trying to get more and people involved. And as we're doing this housing study, like, I completely realize that without more people being involved, it's not gonna be effective.
So State
but-
Chamber of Commerce is basically
Yep.
your parent company. so to
Yeah,
speak?
and then
Or your-
Roberta Pinkerton with DED is like our supervisor as well. And she then works with the governor's office. So it's really DED, Nebraska Chamber, and the governor's office.
I see.
Yeah.
This is a, kind of to elaborate on what Emily said, the governor came out with this big initiative last year, really working, we have so many vibrant communities, unique communities across the state, but all too often when it comes to growing our rural communities, we have a really myopic view. And when we realize that we can do more as a region, and pool our resources and pool that talent that exists, a lot more things can get done. And so I serve as a stakeholder on 6 regions, 1 Nebraska. It's been an amazing opportunity to meet people and have them come together and provide great ideas on how we can grow the entire region and all the communities within the region. And Emily does a fantastic job coordinating, so it's
I wish there was a playbook, Chris. Like, that would be really nice.
You get
Sometimes.
you get the amount of stakeholders together, and she keeps us all on task,
Yeah.
and it's she does a great job.
The nice thing about there not being a playbook, Emily, is you get to write it.
Fair.
Yes.
Yeah.
We go to a lot of meetings, and for me personally, 6 regions, 1 Nebraska is talked about a lot in
Cool.
the meetings. So
Yeah.
I was glad that you were able to come in and kind of give us some background on what you're working on.
Yeah.
I like the message of cooperation, not competition.
Right.
That I really think the collaboration, and especially bringing the smaller communities into the conversation, I think a lot of times they feel like they get left out and
Right.
overlooked. And are there any private sector partnerships with the 6 regions, 1 Nebraska?
Well, and that's, I mean, quite a few business people involved, yes. I think that's what we're navigating a little bit, if I use that word, is, we have projects then that will need funding, and so we're gonna need private sector funding to make some of those initiatives go forward. I don't know what that looks like quite yet, but yeah.
So when your funding that you got through ARPA funds is gone, do you see this being able to continue?
So I have this role until November of 26, and so I don't know. We don't know yet if my role will continue. As far as the housing study, it also will finish up. It has to be done in September of 26. But we've talked about that is, as we're looking at housing, it's not something you can really accomplish in 18 months necessarily. So who will be kind of checking those metrics and seeing some of this through? And so it's a lot of unknowns. Like, I hope that Gary and Kyle, Kyle Argenbright's out of Valentine. I don't know if I said that or not, but he serves as mayor up there and has his hands in lots of other things. But anyway, that's a good question.
What can boards like us do to assist you?
Yeah, I think, as Kent said, I mean, it's tricky to get the word out, and so, just being able to share about it. I think I'll know more once we have the housing study plan figured out with JEO. It seems like that's sort of what the hinge will be, and then we'll be having community outreach and even simple things like filling out a survey. I'd also offer up my card. I mean, I'd love to be a resource or, get you connected to our email. I send out a monthly email just kind of updating what's going on, and so even that communication is helpful, but yeah.
Yeah, I would appreciate being added to that email chain.
Yeah, cool.
You can never know enough about what's happening in the
I
communities.
know it. Oh, those emails.
It makes for some good late night reading.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Probably put you to sleep. Yeah.
Is there anything else you would like to share with us? I mean, I'm curious, how did you determine that the housing was the most important thing for your group to focus on?
Yeah. So I will say when the initiative started out, I think we were looking more broad. Let's take the time, let's look at what areas we could focus on. Then it kind of got down to how do we apply for this ARPA funding? And so maybe if we could do it all over again, it wouldn't have looked that way where we suddenly had to pivot to this $200,000. But that was the topic, and housing was most ready to go. And so that's what we could apply for and make an impact. Now, as I've gotten out to communities, I mean, time and time again, this is the topic that comes up. And so I feel good about the decision we made there, but I would say what really got it out the gate was that ARPA funding need, and that being most prepared to be an option to apply for. So, yeah.
I like the rehab approach to the housing crisis too.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, our city council's currently looking at here in North Platte, and I recently talked to a community that said, we had a gentleman come to our meeting because they're discussing vacant property, and they said something along the lines of, well, North Platte allows, you know, properties to look in disrepair. Why do we have to change? And so there was another key to me of like, oh, it matters regionally that people are looking at what North Platte does, and that I think if we all make, you know, good progress together, it makes a difference. You all can kind of say, well, look, North Platte's doing this, I can too, or Hershey's doing this, I can too, and look what Maxwell's done. So anyway, hopefully there's some, yeah. Can I pass out cards or?
Absolutely.
Okay, I just hand them off.
I know you have my email, so.
I do. Thank you for the opportunity to come and talk. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like we have a duty to help you spread your message
Oh my gosh.
and learn about what you're doing.
That's
so.
awesome. Thank you, Michaela.
Thank you.
Yeah. The right number?
Yeah, you got it.
Wow, awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Emily.
Yeah.
It is 9:50. Our agenda item is discuss and consider authorizing the chair to sign a proclamation recognizing Peace Officer Memorial Day as May 15th, 2025 in Lincoln County. I would seek a motion for authorizing me to sign this, and once I have the motion, then we can gather and I'll read the proclamation.
I would-
Or do you want me to read it first?
I would love,
Okay,
Okay,
we will
To make-
go with Joe's desire to have me read the proclamation first.
okay, I was gonna say I'd love to make a motion.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
It doesn't matter to me.
Make your motion.
I make a motion, we authorize the chairman to sign the proclamation for, I believe it's National Peace Officers Day, is it May 15th, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion by Hughley and a second by Weems. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
I-
Aye.
Aye.
all right.
Aye. Very good. I invited several members of all of the law enforcement groups that provide service in and around Lincoln County. And if you guys would indulge me by introducing yourselves and saying what agency you represent, I would appreciate that. Start with Mr. Connell.
Wayne Connell, Lincoln County Sheriff's Office.
Dan Newton, Lincoln County Sheriff's Office.
Kendall Allison, North Platte Police Department. Jeffrey Foote, North Platte Police Department.
Tyler Schmidt, Nebraska State Patrol.
Alex Eisenhower, Nebraska Game of Parks. Ryan Fernecki, Nebraska Game of Parks.
Jerome Kramer, Sheriff.
Damian Jones, Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
Damien, it's a pleasure to have you join us today. We have spent a great deal of time communicating in the last year, and
Yes, ma'am.
I was glad when you agreed to come and join this fine group of law enforcement professionals. So, what's the best way for us to do this? Just read it from here, or should we all gather?
You know, you're
Read
the
it
boss,
into
and
the
you
mic.
usually come up with some great ideas.
Okay, I will read it into the mic. Very good. So, whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week, and whereas members of law enforcement agencies of Lincoln County play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of Lincoln County. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agency, and that members of our law enforcement agency recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. And whereas the men and women of law enforcement agencies of Lincoln County unceasingly provide a vital public service. Now, therefore, I, Michaela Wooler, as chair of the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners, call upon all citizens of Lincoln County and upon all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 12th, 2025 as National Police Week, with appropriate ceremonies and observances in which all of our people may join in commemorating law enforcement officers, past and present, who, by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities, have rendered a dedicated service to their communities, and in doing so, have established for themselves an inviolable and enduring reputation of preserving the rights and security of all citizens. The Lincoln County Board of Commissioners further call upon all citizens of Lincoln County to observe May 15th, 2025 as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of those law enforcement officers who, through courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their community or have become disabled in the performance of duty. And let us recognize and pay respect to the survivors of our fallen heroes. So, that is the proclamation. I would appreciate if we could all gather for a
I'd like to,
photo.
you wanna call the vote, officially adopted?
We already did.
We did?
Yeah.
Okay. I missed.
We already did. But, I do have some Lincoln County coins that I would like to give to each one of you.
Michaela, do you suppose that we could stage a nice shot?
Oh, back
from
here?
that? Maybe move the chairs, and I'll bet Tammy could shoot over it.
Sure,
Would that work?
let's do that. Yeah, I think that'd make a great background, probably better than trying to squeeze everybody in up there. So gentlemen, if you would all like to come up and gather there.
So they can't go through.
Everything that you
Gotta have long dress.
You don't have one of those yet. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thank you so much. You're welcome. Thank you for joining us today and for your service. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for coming in.
Yep.
Thank you. Nice to find you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is that everyone?
Okay, you guys gotta
Tammy,
squeeze in.
Squeeze in.
A lot.
in the flagpole.
Joe, you can't be in the back row. You gotta squeeze
Joe,
in,
you
Ken.
can get the front and center.
Oh, wait.
We're all
Not,
Three
no,
of you probably, if you three will just move over a little bit.
Yeah,
Everybody's got cups over there, am I?
maybe if we turn sideways.
I can lay on the table.
All right, Kent, you gotta squeeze in a little bit.
talked about that.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you.
Very good.
Thank
Game
you
of
much.
Chips is always good.
Thank you, gentlemen.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Appreciate what you guys do.
Damien, we need to get together for that cup of coffee one
Yes,
of
we
these
do.
days.
Yes, yes, we do.
I'll be reaching out to you. We need to finish
I
that.
know, we started and we kind of, we had a lot of stuff.
June is quickly approaching, that's what I'm nervous about. So, yeah. But thank you so much for coming in and for always being so responsive to my requests. I really appreciate it.
I started with the PD, and so I was working one-on-one with the community. And in this job, one of the things that they don't understand. For me, I like it. I want to have those,
Proclamation in the front.
do those things. You're always going to kind of stay.
Someone should have
Never
been
going to
right
be
in the
the
middle.
cooperation, the communication, the understanding. And even in my
Where will that be?
investigations,
Right, somewhere in
there
the
were two
warehouse.
sides of the whole
Yeah.
But I had a clinic police supervisor that just came in. Awesome. And he was a former state representative in Colorado from Nebraska. So
Booker, you made it down the hallway with all those
Affiliated in-
folks going that way? You made it through?
We'll get together and
Just keep
invite
sending
Jerome.
checks and chill.
That's ice cold. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
I don't know.
I feel like I'm a little lower now. Okay, our next agenda item is at 10:05. Okay, perfect. I will add to that conversation, the State Patrol is conducting a ceremony, I believe Wednesday morning at 11 a.m. out at the Peace Officers Memorial site, so,
Well, isn't it everybody?
huh?
Doesn't everybody do it rather than just the state
They are leading it.
Oh, they're the
They-
lead this
it's-
year, okay.
It's their ceremony this year.
And what day is that again?
Wednesday morning at 11 a.m. out at the Peace Officers Memorial site at Iron Horse Park. I attended it last year. I think you were there too, Joe. It's a very emotional ceremony. Tammy, thank you for the proclamation too.
Yeah, thank you.
One of these days I'll figure out who does what.
It's all about who has a copy of one of them.
I think it had been a few years. dust out of the air. It is 10:05. Our item before us is discuss and consider lighting on the south side of the original courthouse building.
Hi, I'm Booker Boyer,
Good morning, Booker.
Good morning, sir.
Director of Building and Grounds. The Safety Committee and I have been meeting frequently. They had an idea to put lighting on the south side of the old part of the courthouse along the sidewalk. On this side, we have all the overhang lighting on the south side of the building. Over there, there's zero lighting. It's just sidewalk. And that sidewalk gets used a bunch since we put it in. Just for safety and security reasons, it was brought up, maybe it'd have some lights down there, especially at night.
You mean on the sidewalk next to the building?
Yes, sir. My thoughts were I'd like to keep it kind of like the Victorian, kind of the 1930 style, and that building was built for it kind of fits in on that side. We got two lights, and I was looking for something that kind of matched to show you guys, but I haven't found one because it's about 100 years difference on the two lights. It's on the east doorway, kind of match, to kind of fit that era. I can't find anything exactly, otherwise I would be all for it and you guys would have a picture of it. But I gave you a couple different examples of what I thought would look good. Came here for ask permission for the safety committee to put them, install them.
Which sidewalk is it again? On the west side?
West side.
Right up next to 83.
No, it's the south
On
side.
the south side of the old courthouse.
like where the picnic tables are, Jerry,
Oh, okay.
along there,
So coming from the sidewalk next to.
off of 83 to the south door.
To the south
Oh,
door.
okay, okay, back,
I-
back.
Really like the idea of some additional lighting there from a safety perspective, being able to, I've walked that sidewalk in the evening, coming into the building to pick up a packet or what have you, and I know that a lot of people get here early, before the sun comes up. My thought would be is I would wanna make sure that whatever we do install, that it is time period to the classical revival architecture of the building, and that we're paying homage to that. And so, I would say Commissioner Hughley would probably be a tremendous resource in finding that lighting, given his profession.
And truly, guys, there is a heck of a window in there on pricing on that lighting. We can go from 500 to,
But, and I think you did a great job here, Booker. The only problem is there's just way too small in my opinion, because, you know, the light's only this tall. That's pretty small. I mean, somebody come along and whack that.
Mhm.
There's 7/6. Otherwise, I think the idea is great, and I think, to be honest with you, we're talking about maintaining a building of this stature and cost and what we have involved. I appreciate the $200-300, but we need to spend some money and do it right. But I think you did a great job.
Commercial grade product, it'll hold up. For the durability, yeah, I agree with Joe, the idea, the concept is great, but if you're gonna do it, you need to do it.
Correct.
With commercial grade equipment and do it the right way. And he would know 10 times more than the whole rest of the board on how to
well,
appropriately size that.
Would this be on the south side of the sidewalk?
yeah,
Would it be?
South side?
yes.
Okay.
I think if you got too close to the building, you kind of want it shining back towards the building too,
Yeah.
other than just away from it.
How about the overhang of the trees? Is there any consideration that needs to be
I'm
given?
not worried about, that's why I didn't really want to go solar. I wanted to wire it in because we do have the overhang of the trees.
Is this the appropriate type of lighting to do? I mean, I've always thought that the courthouse, particularly the original side, it's kind of not well lit at night, and it's an architectural treasure for not only Lincoln County but western Nebraska, the state, really. Does it make more sense to get some lights that kind of shine up and on the building itself at night to showcase it during the dark hours?
That's why I'm here with you guys. That's your guys' decision.
I think, you know, you mentioned people coming in early in the morning, and our janitorial staff leaves, you know, between 10 and 11 o'clock at night. So for safety for them and just lighting up the path is probably, I think most of them have moved their cars to this side of the building by that time of the night. So, but Joe's right, I think the tallest one is only 8 foot.
Yeah, this is just example.
Examples.
This is not what we have to go with.
So how many of these do you think it would take?
Well, I'd like to see 2 to go down that side. My deal is, what I was saying is, this is just example. There's so many in the spread and what you want. It's hard. I can bring other examples in. I can get with Joe after this meeting and come back with what I think we would find that probably work the best.
How high would your tallest snow removal equipment be that you need to have lights above?
6 foot.
That'd cover your
Skid steer. We try not to take the skid steer off the side sidewalks, just the main to the south. That'd just be a snow blower along there.
I think it needs to be much taller than 6 foot.
Oh, of course,
Okay.
yes.
Funding, have you looked into the historic preservation grant through the state for historic
haven't.
buildings?
No, we
That's a
haven't.
great idea.
Maybe I'll go back to the safety committee and see what we can do with that.
I like the idea. My personal opinion, I think that it's worth exploring probably a little bit more as far as doing some research on funding through that grant. The type of light, working with Commissioner Hughley on that, and then maybe exploring lighting around that entire edifice on that side of the building. I agree with Commissioner Hughley. If you're gonna do it, you need to do it right, so.
Okay.
Booker, if the historic grant funding doesn't work out, the Mid-Nebraska Community Foundation, I think quarterly takes applications for improvements. So I'm not sure this would qualify, but I'm sure Eric would be glad to answer some questions to see if it would.
Do I have permission to borrow your secretary?
Absolutely.
Well, thank you guys for hearing me out on this.
You bet.
Yep.
Very good.
Good idea.
I do like being period correct. I mean,
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's like
Yeah.
Chris said, I think it ain't gonna hurt anything. I think for security reason wise, accidents wise, a lot of times they're going with trash at night too, down that sidewalk we got to cross the 83 to even get over there, sacks of trash. I think the whole thing would be way better if we do it during election at night. People coming in and out,
yeah.
light the walkway over there would be surely greatly appreciated.
Well, I think this was a great start to the conversation. Do some more research. If you need some help, your building committee would probably help you out with that. And then when you have something that you'd like to recommend, I don't think the cost is gonna be above
Okay.
your authority. But I think we would like to see the final product that you would recommend to
Yeah,
us.
you know,
Okay.
I'll get with Joe and get his advice and maybe going back in front of the safety committee and see what they think, then hopefully get back in front of you guys.
Okay?
Super.
Thank you guys.
Booker.
Side of the building is more light.
I guess I've never been on that.
If you, well, the annex portion has all the down lighting. It's lit up like no other. That entire side of the building is so dark, you can drive down Jeffers and not even realize that there's the courthouse there.
I haven't noticed that. Needs attention though.
The picnic tables attract pedestrians even after dark. And there have been times where people have told me they were startled because they did not even see people sitting there until they were right on top of them. So I think lighting it up's a great idea. It is 10:15. Our current item is a presentation by Allo Communications for a broadband expansion project in Lincoln County.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. If you'd like to announce your names and sign in.
Absolutely. My name is William Smith. I'm Director of Plant Operations for Allo Communications. This is Don Larson. He's our Manager of Plant Operations for Allo Communications. I appreciate the Commissioners, the Board. Tammy, thank you so much for getting us on the agenda. May I pass these out to you guys? This is our packet that we've provided.
I think we have a lot of them.
We'll pass them down.
Some updated ones.
2, 3.
Should have 7.
Thank you, Scott. Good. Okay, we're set.
Okay, I think, I'm sure everybody, all the commissioners are aware of the BEAD program. It's a, the program to, help assist and fund, broadband brought out to the rural areas. We have identified in Lincoln County probably 11% of residents, somewhere around that, 10 to 11%. Some areas that we think that we would be well positioned to provide our internet. We are requesting a letter of recommendation to assist our application for the grant money. We have received feedback that, you know, these letters do help. They are impactful. So, you know, the reason we believe, you know, that we are best positioned for this, one is our product. Our product, you know, it's an all fiber network, you know, very reliable, you know, low outage times. Our product is, you know, the internet, television, you know, phone, and very soon to be, probably announcing this early, but Allo mobile services. Second reason, resources. We believe, you know, we've been in the area, well, we've been in Nebraska since 2003. We've been in North Platte since 2012. We've grown a lot since we started building in North Platte. We've got about 2,000 employees. We also employ general contractor and subcontractors. And we have immediate access to, obviously, the vast quantities of material needed, you know, fiber optic cable, duct structures, vaults. And finally, probably the most important reason that we think that we're well positioned for this is that we are local. We've displayed a local partnership with entities with the city of North Platte and the county. We have local customer service and local technicians. I think, you know, a prime example, Saturday night we had an alley fire due to, I believe, some arson. But anyway, we had technicians out there until 3:30 in the morning repairing the fiber optic to actually, you know, to restore 8 local residents. So, you know, that's one of the things that we bring. We do Allo for education. We've won Best Internet and Cable Provider in North Platte for the last 7 years. And we have over a 55% business and residential blended market share. So it's kind of a display that, you know, up against the competition that, you know, by and large, Allo is the selection. So I'm gonna, in summary, there's 865 what we consider underserved residents, residential locations in Lincoln County. Our construction would pass 1,218 of those, some of them being served. Obviously, we've got to get, you know, from A to C, we got to pass B. You know, research has shown that providing fiber broadband to rural communities boosts income, entrepreneurship, and business investment while also increasing home values. And I really thank you for your consideration, and I'll open up for questions.
Can you explain each map to me?
Yeah, so our maps aren't the best, I apologize.
Even with my glasses on, I can't read those
Right,
little tiny road names.
you can't read. So on the front page, we've got, page 1 is north of North Platte. So it'd be the split, the, you know, the Highway 97 split going to Mullen or going north up to Thedford.
Okay.
So those, the red dots would represent underserved. Underserved means residents have internet, but very poor internet, not current modern speeds. The blue areas are unserved. Those are the ones without internet at all, or broadband, I should say broadband services. And then we would pass them, you know, the green dots would be ones that are served.
And it's your proposal that you would take high-speed internet to each and every one of these? So if they're
Right.
underserved, if they have low-quality internet like I currently have at my house, you're gonna take it right up to the residents?
That's correct. We have design at this point right now, using either state or county rights of way. In some cases, Union Pacific, but we would permit that, you know, finalize our design, permit that, so we, you know, flood Jason with a bunch of maps and permit requests and stuff like that. But and then build out along up until, you know, staying in the rights of way up until a point where we get a request for service, and then we build the last mile into the home.
This would be if it was awarded with the grant money that we would be requesting with your letter of recommendation. So,
Can you explain in the legend the carve boundaries, the bead route, what, just those other items in the legend of the maps?
Yes, certainly. So the carve boundaries is the areas, what we call a carve. It's just they're throwing a lasso around the areas that we want to serve. So the green dotted line is just it's just summarizing the areas that we would serve. The red line is the bead routes. In other words, we would have to build fiber optics along those routes.
Okay. Okay. And so it would be fiber, it would be
All
physical,
fiber.
it wouldn't be towers and
Nope.
line of sight?
No, our structures, the largest structure we have, we call a PON cabinet. PON is the acronym for Passive Optical Network, but it's a little bit smaller than a refrigerator. And in most cases, as you get rural, you would have even smaller cabinets than that. Everybody's seen pedestals in what we call ped farms, the green structures that stick up. We would have those, to serve the individual homes. And then, obviously, we would have some vaults where our fiber optics would be spliced together.
So if you take it all the way to a customer's home, is there any cost that will be passed on to
In
them?
most cases, no.
Okay, it'll go right up to the home.
In
and
most
they just
cases,
pay
we
for
would
the
build
service.
alongside, in the count, let's say county right of way. We would set a pedestal next to that person's driveway. And I know, and some of these drops are pretty long drops too, service drops, right? And then at that point right now, we would, customer signs up, we would employ a contractor to bury the rest of it all the way to the home, or we would do it in-house.
So page 2 is what area?
Okay, page 2 is just showing a zoomed out area on the right side of the page. Left side of the page is Ogallala, that's a different county, obviously. Right side of the page of 2 of the areas in North Platte and then south of the lake that we would do. It's not really a good map at all. Possibly a little bit better map. You start getting into page 3. Areas north of North Platte, south of North Platte, both sides of the lake. We did receive grant money to build around the lake.
Yeah, because
which
you've
we-
already gone down Buffalo, right?
We have,
And,
yes.
and around.
Yes. Page 4 would be, you can see the rail yard there, so it's the area north of the rail yard. Page 5 is north and a little bit east of Maxwell. Also, page 6 is, I think our route out to Maxwell, along with north of Maxwell.
tell me what the 300-foot served address is, green dot means.
So they're considered served addresses if they're within 300 feet of the, whatever the fiber equipment would be that's serving them. So served addresses, although we would pass these addresses and then, that resident would have an option of ALA Communication or whoever's currently serving them. But they're listed as served now because they're within 300 feet of some sort of broadband structure.
That's already there.
Yes.
If they already have broadband, but they don't like it and they want the better quality that you're building in, they have the option of switching.
Absolutely.
Okay. You're not gonna bypass any addresses.
No. As we build out to the very last addresses, we would, we would serve all the demand in between that point, yeah. And Allo does not do contracts, by the way, so just, you know, if anybody's, you know, we gotta, you know, earn our business every day type deal. So any customers that, you know, didn't want Allo, you know, obviously you're not locked into anything.
And then page 7?
Page 7 is south of Lake Maloney, I believe. Yes.
So you're pretty much just looking close around North Platte, nothing down to Wallace or over to Hershey, Sutherland?
Yeah, I believe a lot of those areas were probably, the grants have probably been extended, you know, by some other telco providers. At this point, yeah, the area that we're requesting right now, and it's, again, it's like 1,200 homes, 800 plus are underserved. You know, it's a request of, I don't know, it's 20 million plus of BEAD grant funding.
We're currently doing a similar project around Lake McConaughey in Ogallala, getting around the south edge of the lake there, so it's very similar to that.
So I do serve on West Central Nebraska Development District's broadband stakeholder group. I've been to quite a few meetings with the Department of Agriculture, the BEAD office, Patrick Haggerty, Patrick Redmond. It was my understanding that when they issue the grant funding, it'll be area specific. So you won't be building over the top of another provider, is that correct?
We could be to get to an area that we're receiving the grant.
But you both, like, we've had multiple providers come in and present to us. So when the funding is determined, it'll be area specific.
That's my understanding, yes.
Correct, okay, very good. I think that's the only question I have. Does anybody have any other questions for Allo representatives?
No.
No. I did take the liberty of preparing a letter that we have used for all of the providers. It came through the NACO toolbox. You guys are familiar. I think you've done quite a bit of work with NACO, helping them put that information together. And so the next item is discuss and consider a BEAD letter of support for Allo Communications.
Chair, I would make a motion that we provide the BEAD letter of support for Allo Communications.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other questions or conversation? Roll call, please.
Woodruff.
Aye.
Bruns.
Aye.
Hughley.
Aye.
Weems.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, Chair.
Appreciate your time.
Here's that letter for you.
I got it. I'm not in the car.
You need a copy of it?
No. First time
Thank you. It was nice meeting you guys. You too.
Huh? So does my neighbor. Cause I put it up. No. I'd like to, since I paid for it. These guys miss me by that.
Okay. Our 1025 item is discuss and consider entering into a property management agreement with the Nebraska International Port of the Plains. Good morning. Good morning. How are you? Okay, we'll wait for Becky to return. It always surprises me how many underserved and unserved addresses there are in Lincoln County.
Too many.
Way too many. Okay, who would like to speak to the property management agreement?
Madam Chair, I'm gonna start out with, and I'm gonna be extremely brief. As mentioned before, the county has been working diligently over the last several years to assist in getting an inland port established, and as part of that, a rail park towards Hershey. Tyler Volkner, our deputy county attorney, has been an integral part of that. Chris and I currently serve on a committee as per some recommendations and very vague language. A week ago, we had asked Tyler to work on a draft. He has done that, and I would either turn it over to Chris for other comments or to Tyler and to present
So,
what our thoughts are.
Madam Chair, colleagues, we've tossed around, we've had discussion on potential lease for the inland port for what was formerly the Greenbrier facility that the county now owns. A big stumbling block in that process was the ownership aspect, because technically for a few years it was the chamber that technically owned it. That has been resolved. It is in ownership of the county now. The question now comes, how do we appropriately provide the authority for the inland port to operate out of there, and to complete the improvements in that area as far as the transloading facility, conduct business, and leasing seemed like the right way to go until you realize that, well, there's still a ways out from having any kind of revenue coming in, and they need to have access fairly soon, fairly quickly, for a variety of reasons that I'm not going to get into right now. But Commissioner Hughley had a fantastic idea as far as a management agreement, and I think it solves a couple key issues. It allows for the issue of revenues coming into the inland port to be solved. We don't need to worry about that right now. As they do start getting revenues, there's a mechanism in here as far as a percentage that the county would be able to recoup to help start getting county covered as far as the money that we invested into that property initially. And it gives them, the inland port, the latitude to do what they need to do as far as enticing business, getting the improvements done as far as rail and other infrastructure to help entice additional industry and commercial development out there. And so I think that going through this language, this is a well-drafted instrument that this board should strongly consider utilizing.
I appreciate the simplicity that the attorney was able to put into this document and still achieve what we are all trying to achieve. Thank you, Tyler.
Welcome.
So, I guess it's open for discussion. We have it. If you would like a motion prior to discussion, I will make that, but that's up to you, Madam Chair, however you want to proceed.
I think it would probably be beneficial to have a motion before we continue discussion.
Madam Chair, I would make a motion that we authorize your signature on a property management agreement between Lincoln County and the International Port of the Plains. We can't speak on the International Port of the Plains, but we can authorize your signature to present to them, and they can take to their board for any action they might want to have.
We have a motion?
I would second it for further discussion.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I have a question on page 2, repairs and maintenance and then alterations. repairs and maintenance would be the owner's responsibility and not the renters, leasers, leasee?
At this point, there is no lessee. We just own it.
It's
This
our
would-
property.
This would.
We're just hiring a company to manage that property for us.
At some point, when the property is eventually leased out, that might change. But for purposes of the relationship between us and the inland port, no, we're gonna maintain it.
Okay.
Once somebody gets in there and utilizes the whole facility, I doubt we're gonna continue to maintain it.
Okay, that answers that question. On that same page, there is under management and operation, there's an A, B, C, D, and then we skipped to G. It was,
Oh, Jerry, you're
E
killing me.
was missing.
You couldn't have just whispered that to me.
Well,
Good catch.
We'll put E and F in after we get the signing from the inland
well,
port.
that's kind of what I wondered.
As
No.
part of the simplification process, E and F were terminated.
So
So-
G is actually E.
G should be E. This is what happens when you get a discount lawyer, Jerry.
Your proofreader failed you.
And the same,
Don't, I see it. Go on the next page. Again, C and D were eliminated for simplicity.
okay,
I'm sure we have somebody in the
I
public.
proofread for a living,
Okay.
part of my life.
I'm not sure that's on this topic, but okay. My question is, I mean, it defines the owner shall pay, but is there like a chain of communication dictated here? I don't know if I feel comfortable giving an entity that doesn't own the building a blank check for improvements. I mean, it says repairs, including the addition of infrastructure, streets, utility, tracks, and other such public works projects. The agent shall contract for or undertake the making of alterations required for proper management. So we would have conversations, right? Like, would the same dollar amounts be in place where they need to come to us and say, this is what we feel needs to be done? And here's a cost estimate before work would be done?
Well, that's why we're here talking about it today.
Great.
If that is what the board wants, then yes, that can be added pretty easily. The idea was the facility itself, the maintenance, spraying weeds, mowing, some paint if it needs it, that kind of stuff's gonna be, that's on the county. But as far as laying out and working with the consultant for the drop and pull yard and the transloading stuff, I don't think that's something that this board really wants to be integrally involved in. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
As long as it's not our money that's being spent on it, no,
Yeah.
I would absolutely expect them to manage that and make all of that.
They-
But if it's the county dollars that are being spent, I feel like we need to have the same chain in place that we do for our building and grounds department.
I don't believe there's anything in this agreement that allows them to spend county funds.
Exactly, I mean, any county funds would have to fall underneath the County Purchasing Act, so that
Very
would have to come to
Honestly, a
us.
large part of the reason that subparagraph D, the alterations, reads the way it does is because they have money that is only available to them and not to us. So they have to take those improvements and contract that stuff in their name.
Okay, great. Thank you
No.
for clarifying.
If the board wants a mechanism put in there where they have to get our approval on all that stuff first, I can do that.
Well, along that same line, I was thinking along the floor in that building, the work pits gonna need to be filled in eventually, some of them are. Is that something that the county, it would be the county's expense?
For right now, if we wanted to do it, yes. If a tenant comes along and needs it filled in, then that can be a tenant improvement. That's the beauty of allowing the county to simply remain the owner. The leases are inevitably gonna be with us. And so if that's what we wanna do, great. At this point, it's the inland port's job to bring us tenants, to manage our property and make it profitable. Someday down the line, maybe they'll be managing their own leasehold. But again, for right now, we can do whatever we want with this.
This gets the ball off center
Yes, effectively.
and quickly, and it needs to get off center.
Oh, yeah, but, and, yeah, absolutely, but in the same token, if there's gonna be some major changes or renovations to the building, that needs to be decided on.
Totally
at
agree.
this table.
Yes,
Absolutely.
totally.
And that's taken care of in this.
Would we need to add language to cover that?
If you want it explicit, yes. If you want it implicit, no.
I highlighted quite a bit, and my question after each highlight pretty much was who pays? So, I mean, it's our building. As owners of many buildings, I think we have a commitment to being good stewards and take good care of our buildings. But a lot of this was like, I felt making modifications and updates and additions, and I really feel like that needs to be run past us. So maybe the same dollar amounts put in place for this agreement that we have with our building and grounds department or our weed department before they make major purchases.
If the board wants a mechanism in there where it has to give permission for these sorts of alterations, that's fine, I can do that. I would not peg it based on dollar amounts. That's done specifically because of county purchasing. This would be more like, does the board approve of the project or not?
Yeah.
I don't care if it's effectively a $10 million project or a $1,000 project. If they're gonna start making permanent alterations and the board wants say on that, that's fine, but it needs to be based on the project, not the dollar amount.
Okay, fair enough.
That would satisfy my concerns in that regard.
I can put a couple more sentences in the alterations section, because that's obviously where the big changes are gonna come from.
Under item 8, compensation, the owner shall pay the agent as compensation for the services of the agent as follows. So it looks like a 90-10 split.
And that was literally pulled out of thin air. That was a rough number that Chris and Joe and I had sort of kicked around with the understanding that right now, they don't have a lot coming in. And as that number goes up, their percentage probably is not gonna stay entirely at 90.
Not that thin of air, tried to base it on what we thought were projections for at least a project that we know is out there. When you look at annual revenue and what we would be getting back to cover our expenses we previously talked about, that's where that came from, that's what that was based on anyway.
So you feel like that 10% would be enough to pay, keep the lights on, insurance, all that stuff we've been paying out of county coffers for?
I would think that would be a good start. That's only one,
And that could
it's
be
only one person who can.
renegotiated at the end of the it's a 2-year term, right?
And we,
Unless you want it
but
to be one.
I was gonna suggest for the first year, it'd be a 1-year term, that was gonna be my suggestion, and I didn't get a chance to talk to you, I'm sorry, Tyler, but.
Yeah, there is an out on it.
30 days.
The 30 days out,
If you don't like what they're doing, you get 30 days.
even though the term of the contract is 2 years.
If nobody touches it, it's for 2 years, and then it can and will automatically renew. I suspect it'll get renegotiated after 2 years. I certainly hope that there is enough movement out there that we would need to renegotiate it. But there is a 30-day out for both sides.
Okay. Okay.
So the only recommendation I was going to have, if the board, depending on how the board felt about it and then how the inland port felt, was to look at this again at the end of 1 year, because this is it's something totally new, and there are a lot of things can come up in this first year that we don't know about.
So
So
you're thinking
change
changing
the
that to a
term.
1 year instead of 2?
I would, maybe after that, if we get things in place, maybe it becomes longer, but
I
for the
like
first
that.
year, that was my only thought.
You know, in the beginning, things could start to really escalate. It'd be nice to be able to have a little quicker turnaround on some of that.
Sorry I didn't get to you earlier, Tyler, on
That's
this.
fine, and that's why we're here talking about it. The one thing I tucked in there was the 10% that comes back to the county would get paid on July 1st. And I picked that day specifically because you would be calculating the new budget, but you would not have to estimate that revenue, you would have to. Would that be correct, Becky?
Yes.
Okay. While that might not make much of a difference when the revenue is in the 5-digit range, if it gets larger than that, you might not wanna be trying to guess at what that's gonna be, when you're making your budget. You might just like to have a hard number.
Yes, that would be very helpful, instead of having to guesstimate.
Yeah.
Oh, good thinking ahead.
I mean, I can't count letters or numbers, but I can think ahead.
The other thing I'd like, to have a little more conversation about, I think you and I have talked, and maybe I've even asked you, Chris, but I think it would only be fair to, our road department, our building and ground department, to bring them into the conversation and let them know exactly what the expectation is for, you know, how much do you want their janitors up there cleaning in the building? And what kind of a demand, we're coming up on a new budget conversation. And I think especially for building and grounds, if they're gonna be doing, it mentions snow removal, so that's a building and grounds. They do it for all of our properties here. I feel like, you know, we need to have, or maybe you guys have had conversation with Booker already on this topic. I mean, it just stands to reason it's gonna put considerable more demand. That's a lot of square footage on his department. And so I think we need to have at least a beginning expectation, so he knows how to plan.
How about mowing? Is there mowing that would be something that Booker's crew could handle?
I think that there's an opportunity, between, I know that the roads department has been out there mowing, so far, occasionally, as needed. Building and grounds probably be somebody to look at as far as weed whacking and things up closer to the building, but that larger area, there need to be some conversations with the road department, I think, or having some kind of a conversation with the village of Hershey on a potential interlocal agreement.
They have a village meeting tonight.
Yep. So there's options out there, but
Okay. Well, I like that we're getting closer every day to getting the kinks worked out and some movement happening.
Tammy,
So
when is
thank
the-
you guys.
when is the next
week?
Next week.
Next Monday.
Next Monday.
19th.
19th is the,
Inland Port meeting.
Which is why I wanted to get this in front of the board this week, so that I could get changes made.
Exactly.
Changes, really?
Okay.
Pretty good job,
Very good. For staff.
Caleb, before you're done with your discussion, if you feel so inclined, there's a gentleman that's pretty
Oh,
handsome.
yes. Yeah, I was waiting until we were finished around the
Thank you.
table. So, Ira?
I just got questions.
Sure, come on up and introduce yourself and sign in.
Okay, you're talking about Greenbowers up here?
Yes,
Well, we're done talking about it now, aren't we?
We haven't voted on it.
no, no,
You're not gonna vote on something that's not done yet.
no.
No, I
that's
just
right.
got questions.
That's right.
But Ira also has questions
Oh.
about Greenbrier. I think you're here for a different reason though, right, Ira?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm here, yeah, just for a discussion on that too.
okay. So go ahead and sign in.
Take care of all kinds of civic curiosity.
And for the record, announce your name.
Ira Ditch, I just got questions. I go to the village board meetings and listen to them. I was in the impression that they owned that building.
No,
Nope.
Okay, that was one of my questions.
that
My
was an
next-
easy answer. The county purchased
The
the
county
building.
owns that? Okay.
Yes.
Well, just in their board minutes, they don't ever tell you who owns it, they act like they own it. So that's why I wanted to jump up real quick. My next question is, I live in Hershey. If you're gonna put trucks in there, you're gonna put a turn lane? That was my main concern.
There
That
has
is
been
part of-
many conversations about the
What they do with that
transportation.
property is, it's only gonna last 10 years anyway. So, yeah, it's just, to me, it's kind of a waste, is what I think. But I can see the point. But, Greenbowers is only there 10 years. and then they close down.
Our plan is for much longer than 10
I
years.
hope.
This is
Yeah,
gonna be,
generational.
yes,
Well, I hope
generational.
because-
It's gonna be a game changer in Lincoln County, is
I
our
hope it is,
hope.
because Hershey's tried other things, and they give our ethanol plant to Sutherland instead of keeping it. There's so many things that have been done wrong in Hershey that I'm just sick of it.
We appreciate your remarks, Ira, and
You know, the road was the biggest thing, because
The road is,
you get trucks parked down there, you're gonna have a terrible mess.
that's part of the infrastructure planning grant.
Well,
that we
that's all
got.
that was my biggest concern, because talking to the village board, it's like,
so have we defined all of the updates and changes that we want Tyler to make as far as the agreement with the inland port?
Speak now or hold your peace.
I see no need for any changes, quite candidly. We handpicked the board of Inland Port. You've got 2 people on this board, you've got a capable attorney. If they don't do what you want, you have all the power on this side to replace those people as we move forward. They're not gonna do anything that's contradictory to what we want. We have a common theme. And I think you're overcomplicating it. The idea was to move forward. And yet we're gonna nitpick another chapter and verse of an agreement that has a 30-day termination. If we don't like it, the majority of this board can scrap it. You wanna know what I thought? That's what I think.
Very good. I stand by, I would like a little more, detail in there just for the protection of the county. I feel like we have an obligation to be proactive and not reactive. And
Well, at the very least, I need to fix my unorthodox.
your ABCs.
My unorthodox list structure. So it'll have to come back next week for that anyway. I will put the requested changes in, and if that's how it gets voted, that's how it gets voted.
Okay, so we will table this until next Monday.
I'll be back with it.
Is there any other requests, discussion? Okay,
Madam Chair, would it be more appropriate that I withdraw my motion at this time, because we're gonna probably need a different motion back in? And
If we
If
table
you'd
it-
accept it, I will withdraw my motion.
I will accept it.
Could I ask that you?
Well, now you gotta come up here, Jim.
Yeah, you gotta come up and sign in and state your name, please, for the record.
Jim Hawks, Chairman of the Port Authority. The only thing I was gonna ask is could we get a copy of that in draft form? Just so that we can run it by our people. And I realize it won't be approved by you guys until next week, but it would at least give us an opportunity to look at it before our meeting next Monday afternoon.
So you guys haven't seen this yet?
No.
You did not have a part in the drafting of this? Okay.
They didn't, they had a pretty good idea what was gonna be in it, because
Right,
it was
yeah.
discussed at the.
Yeah, we've had a lot of good communication, and I guess the only other comment I would make is, when you were talking about major improvements, and that, in my way of thinking, there is no way anything would be done like that up there unless it was agreed to by all parties concerned.
I would assume that too, but I'd rather have it in writing in the agreement than assume it.
Sure.
Madam Chair, is it your feeling then that they receive a draft form? I
Yes,
see no reason they
I
couldn't,
don't
as legal counsel.
see, I guess I
And then
assumed that they had played a part in the draft.
they'll get updated after we
Say,
approve
Okay.
or discuss and consider next week, potentially approve a final.
But I
Then,
got
you-
a
then
meeting with our executive board tomorrow, so that we can get the agenda put together and get it to him in time to post, so.
yeah.
Jim, I will email you an updated copy.
All right, that'd be great, thank you.
Yep.
And they always have the option of not signing it.
Exactly.
Okay,
Or sending it back with requests.
do we need to take a vote on the withdrawal of the motion? No? Okay, very good. I do know that we have a resident in our audience that would like to address us Can we go to that, Tyler?
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Ditch, we have Ira Ditch. He lives in the village of Hershey and has a topic. Ira, I'm gonna give you 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
5
Okay.
minutes.
Well, I really don't know how to start. My name is Ira Ditch. I've lived in Hershey since 1977. Corner First and Logan. The village got a block grant in 1988 to help out the low-income families with easement issues. Well, in '88, they done a 264 vacate that aligned West First Street with a road that is off to what I call a driveway. It's a driveway now, but they aligned that road, is what they said. They took Logan Street out between First Street and the railroad tracks. I don't know if you can see it. This is Logan Street and First. They took all of Logan Street out. I should say the chairman of the board, Ken Needon, he vacated, or no, abandoned, is what he said, 90 foot by 30 foot of Logan Street. Then he took the other 30 of 70 and the 20 foot of West First Street and put over on his side. But in '87, they made this all light industrial. In '88, they put the road over here. In '91, they told me I had to move my house back 10 foot. I live across the street. I've been there since '77. Ken Needon bought his property in '87, vacated the road in '88. And in in '92, I think it was '92 or '93, they came in and told me I had to move my house back parallel with the south wall of my garage, which is moving my house back 10 foot, gives me an 8-foot backyard. Where do I put my kids' swing set? An 8-foot backyard. How do I serve my neighbor when she doesn't want me to move my house any closer to her house?
Ira,
Why do
can
I
I
have
ask a question? What year did they tell you you had to move your house back?
93?
And you haven't done it?
Nope. Because I don't want an 8-foot backyard.
So.
I had kids.
Are they pursuing?
No, in 2007, I walked in because they were talking some other things that they wanted to do. You know, they were gonna put more houses in. I'm like, well, why are you putting more houses in when you're taking houses out? You won't let me fix my house, but now you wanna bring more houses in. Well, then they give me a paper saying that they're not gonna pursue the 10 foot on my property any longer, but they didn't do any damage to my home. My home sat there for 18 years with a conventional roof on it. The floors are warped, so I can't put a foundation underneath of it. Then, I'm getting closer now because I've got blocks underneath it, jacking it up every month and putting blocks in and keeping my frame off the ground to straighten my frame rails. So I can do this. But the problem is, why was this so important for him to have 80 feet on the corner?
So you
They never-
reside in the village of
Yeah.
Hershey. You are
Yeah.
in the village limits.
I'm in the village, yes.
And I go to their meetings also. I've been there when you've presented to
Okay,
them.
when you
And-
come around the corner and go past Butch's Bar.
Right.
You notice the road goes to the south.
Yeah.
Why does those power poles go to the south too? The power pole in front of my house is 10 foot from the asphalt. Well, they've already moved to 20 foot. Then you got the 10 foot of carbon sidewalk. The road was off 30, I don't understand, where is the road at? There's never been a survey. On Logan Street, they give me, the 314 give me 20 foot. They give me 20 foot on Logan Street, they took 20 foot of the cornfield, the next door, for the road. They laid the asphalt down, you take a tape measure and go from my property line to 20 foot, I've got 3 foot to the asphalt.
Mr. Ditch, I appreciate it. It sounds like you have some
I've had a lot of
frustration.
problems.
Yeah.
My question would be is, everything that you're laying out seems to be a grievance against the village of Hershey, which has their own jurisdiction over matters that
Yeah,
happen
well,
within their
that's my next,
jurisdictional
that
boundaries.
was my next problem. We've had 2 chairmen of the board.
Okay.
And both of them, and the one was trained by the other one.
Okay,
Well, when in 2007, the first words out of his mouth after reading my papers is he couldn't wrap his mind around this issue.
my question would be is what do you have that you're bringing forward to us that we may be able to even have some influence over? Because that's all stuff that is
It's in the village.
in the village's jurisdiction. We have no jurisdiction over anything.
And Ira and I
But
have had
that-
conversation and.
there's
I-
no, that doesn't make any sense.
That's,
We're-
they're an elected body that has jurisdiction over the
You
jurisdiction.
know, I've never voted for any one of them people, and we're still there. That's 18 years of both of them.
And I understand that you have great frustration, and I can sense it, and I hear it. There's just, this body right here
Yeah, no, I.
doesn't have any control over
Yeah,
what happens.
that's what I'm saying. Nobody does. They run wild. They do whatever they wanna do.
Well, they have ordinances and rules and regulations that they follow to Ira, but we are two separate entities. We have no authority over the village. What happens in the village is the village board's
How
jurisdiction.
do they vacate roads without surveying them?
You're asking
Yeah.
somebody that, I don't know how
I
they do
don't
it, because
know,
I'm not in the
yeah.
village. You'd have to ask them, Myra.
But,
That would be a question for the village attorney.
Who is the village?
Doug Staff,
Yes, that piece of,
yeah. But
excuse me, I'm not real happy with that.
I
man.
agree with Commissioner Bruns. I can tell this has been a long issue
Yeah.
for you and that you are frustrated. I empathize
And I'm not
with
minimizing
that.
your
Yeah.
frustration at all, it's just,
But there's really, you and I talked on the phone last week and I shared with you then that, if you wanted to come in and share
Yeah,
your
but,
story,
you know,
you're welcome, but we
it's-
have no authority to help you.
Yeah, but they never discussed the road one time with me. I discussed it to them, they're not gonna do anything until it's necessary. They'd already done it in 88. They got the grant in 88, they vacated that road in 88.
Thank you,
When-
Mr. Ditch, our time is up.
Okay.
We need to move
You know,
on.
And I don't even know when they recorded these papers in the courthouse. Was that in 2007 when they gave me this last paper?
that would be if you could go down and talk to the Register of Deeds, Lois
Oh,
Block.
and it's just a big circle. I won't finish that, but it's ridiculous. Cause you can't prove to nobody that it's been done. There's no there's nothing. You can't see what road was vacated. Yeah, there's nothing. You can't find it. You don't find it in your papers. They ain't been changed since the 60s. I'm supposed to come down here and get papers to take to them, to show them what they've done. I can't do it because it's not been done. I'm sorry. I got screwed. And then
Thank
all I
you,
did for it
Ira.
was a big smile for everybody. Thank you.
Mr. Timmons, do you have anything you'd like to address the board with?
Do I have to get up there?
Yes, if you wanna talk to us, you have to come up, you have to sign in and
It's a
state-
hot seat, but it's
state
not
your
that
name.
hot.
If you're here to talk about our past, please don't bring that up.
Oh, boy.
Let me write my name down here for you.
Full disclosure.
My name's
Bill
Bill
is-
Timmons. I'm looking for a place to move to. I may be moving back to Lincoln County. I'm gonna straighten you guys out. Hey, you guys break for lunch?
Yes, we do. Well, we'll be done by lunch. Are you in town?
Yes.
I'll give you a call. Full
I'm gonna take
disclosure,
at least one of you to
Bill and I worked together at UPS for lots and lots and lots of years.
Well, wait a minute, you wanna take one of us to lunch, is it free? I'm available.
Just so you know, I always pay. Like when we go to lunch,
me?
I pay. So, I'm glad to hear you're coming back to Lincoln County.
Possibly, we don't know yet.
We'll find you a
I didn't
place.
mean to interrupt your meeting, but I'll wait around till you.
Okay,
Good to see you, Bill. Take care.
I'll call you when we're done here. We have a meeting after the meeting, but
Okay.
we should be done by 12.
Thank you, and I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
No problem. Okay, do we have any concerns from elected officials, department heads, or their representatives? That would be you. Very good. Are there any committee updates? I do have a couple of announcements. Tomorrow, May 13th, is the downtown cleanup. The Downtown Association does a cleanup in the Canteen District. Since Lincoln County holds several properties in the area, we've participated the last 3 or 4 years, you will see me and Booker and some of the building and grounds teams out picking up trash and participating in that. If you would like to join us, it starts at 8:30 at Nebraska Land Bank. They are gonna serve breakfast to all the participants, and we hope to be done 11-ish. It's just the downtown area. We don't go too far out, and we will focus on our properties with Booker's team. I did get an email, maybe you guys were all copied in, Mugs in the Morning was wondering about, the week of Memorial Day, if we could fill the spot on Thursday instead of Tuesday. Our meeting will be Tuesday that week, and he's already booked for Wednesday. So Joe, I think that'll be your week.
And I think I'm tied up on Thursday.
Okay, he said he would do a remote.
I'll try to work it out.
Okay,
Thank you.
very good. Put it on your calendar. That's all I have. Does anybody have anything else? Tyler, no need for a closed session?
I don't need one, no.
Very good. If there's nothing else for the good of the county, we will adjourn at 11:00.